Helpful if I had my microphone in front of me. Hang on. I have been like moving stuff around all day long and switching back and forth, different setups. So I apologize for that. Lower that a little bit so you don't. Okay, cool. All right. Now you can hear me. Welcome to the Night Owl Writers Room. I am Rich Hosek. And as you can tell from the title, tonight I am going to be working on the latest episode, latest story for my podcast. So I'm for those of you who are new here, I am a writer. Used to write for television. Now I do novels and short stories. That's the short version. And I've got this fiction podcast where I take my short stories, record them, add sound effects and music, and then share them with the world. So I've been doing that for almost 3 years now. And this podcast here, The Writer's Room, is sort of my way of being accountable to something to make sure I am working at a pace that meets the needs of my goals. So if that makes any sense. So if I do this every night at midnight Eastern time, then I know I'm going to be working for at least an hour a night, either on this podcast or something else. Recently, we've been talking about the shows I've been going to sell books at live. Today and probably for the next couple of days, I'll be working on stories for the podcast, but I also have a novel in the works too that I'll be working on. So I'll be sharing that process with you guys and just making myself accountable to getting that stuff done. And so hopefully you guys will be curious as to seeing what's going on with that as well. So here's the story. If I've actually done a live read of this story previously on the podcast, broke the story here on the podcast. Um, had an idea, had a few beats of its story, and then kind of worked it all out. Then I did the writing, rewriting, rereading, rewriting. And earlier today, I laid down the audio track. I cleaned it up. I went through, I proofread it, listened to it, and I've got the audio track in place. Now, what I'm doing is I'm adding sound effects, background music, and so forth. So I'm let's see, I'm about more almost halfway through there, and I'm trying to find a sound effect for this part here. Will took the pad and tucked it back into his bag. So there, the sound of tucking a book in a bag. It feels like a book sliding into something. So I'm gonna search my sound effects now. I can't share too much here. I'm gonna share the Audacity screen with you, but when I try to share everything all at once, it makes it really hard for me to work on stuff. So I've got this website here. Let me actually share this with you real quick, though. Let me see if I can change that out here. There we go. So this is the website I use for sound effects here. Let's see, it's a book slide. So that's a book sliding across the table. It's close. That's too long. Too... Actually, this one, the first part of it may be exactly what I need here. Let me download this. Download that up there. And the way this works is I download it. And then once it's downloaded, I unzip the file and I drag it into my library of sound effects. And so I've got a section here for paper. And I'm going to put my textbook slide in there. Then once I have it there, I'm going to go ahead and copy it over into Audacity. I'm going to grab that sound effect. So I'm putting it right here at this spot, which is right there at about 8:14. So grab it here. Oops. No, get rid of that. Grab it here. Come to 8:14. There we go. Paste it in. And let's see what we got here. Eventually, there will be something that reveals the nature of whatever conflict your subconscious is trying to resolve. Will took the pad and tucked it back into his bag. All right, so right there, I'm going to cut off this last bit here. See if that does the trick here. Let's see what it sounds like. Tucked it back into his bag. He paused as he worked up the courage to ask what he considered a ridiculous question. But what did he have to lose? Do you think it might be a real person I'm dreaming of? I thought you said you didn't recognize her. No, I mean, somehow she's communicating with me while I'm dreaming. The psychologist seemed skeptical. Maybe someone in a parallel universe? The psychologist didn't laugh out loud like Will expected. So that's the theory that his friend Aaron has been telling him. Interesting theory. You think that's possible? He asked. No, not likely. But you thinking it's a possibility could mean something. Great. Now his therapist thought he was crazy. It doesn't mean you're crazy, the psychologist said as if answering Will's unspoken question. But perhaps that line of thinking will spark something else. Okay, so now Aaron and Will. All right, so now we're going to a different scene here. And so for the scenes I'm having with the main character and his friend, I've been using ambience, a background. Scenes with the therapist in office, nothing. Because I imagine when you're in a therapist's office that it is just silent. There's no distractions. I was thinking about having like a little fountain playing or a clock ticking, but I think that's just too much. So here I've got a collection of ambiances, and I just found a new one today called the Duck Pond. Let's see here. See if I can find it here. Duck. Yes, Windy Duck Pond. And let me see. I'm gonna play this. Are they all the same? There's fewer ducks. All right, so I think I want the first one here. So I'm gonna grab this and I'm gonna throw it here, and I'm actually gonna drag it up into an ambiance channel I have up here. So this is where I put the ambience. I put the ambience pretty low. So I'm gonna just throw this up here. Right about there, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, looks like perhaps that line of thinking will spark something else. Aaron and Will sat at a picnic table outside their office building. Okay, so that first part feels a little too loud. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trim that off and then fade it in from there. Effect, fading, fade in. Of thinking will spark something else. Aaron and Will sat at a picnic table outside their office building. It was a warm, sunny day, and Will enjoyed watching the ducks and geese and occasional egret visit the adjacent pond. Could be a demon, Aaron suggested. A spirit from the underworld tempting you, trying to get you to allow it to possess you. Do you stay awake all night thinking of these crazy theories? Will asked. No, they just come to me. It's
Audio
not a
Jungle.
demon, Will insisted. Okay, just an idea. He tossed a crust of bread into the water. A family of ducks started paddling rapidly toward it. Okay, so I need the family of ducks paddling rapidly toward it. Let's see.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
This sounds exactly like what I need, so I'm going to grab that and I add it to my project here. I'm going to copy this to a folder in my sound effects called Creatures. There we go. Save that. So you're not seeing this part. Maybe I'll show it to you later. But I did do an earlier episode where I showed you how I organized all of my sound effects and so forth. But it's more important, I think, that you see this part here. So in case I lose track, I'm at between 9:45, so almost at 9:50. So ducks.wave at 9:50. So I'm gonna grab it, and when I do this, it drops a new track in here, right? So I'm just gonna grab this and copy that. Let's clean this up a little bit here. Get rid of these extra tracks, and we wanted to go right here at 8:50, right? 8:50. You think that's possible? He asked. Oh, no, 9:50. I'm sorry. 9:50. Rapidly toward it. Just a crust of bread and just an idea. He tossed a crust of bread into the water. A family of ducks started paddling rapidly toward. Okay, so now this one here is a little bit too loud. There's two ways I can fix that. I can take this and I can bring down the amplitude by going like about -3 dB. Let's see if that does the trick. Or I can slide it into another track. I like to keep most of my sound effects in one track that I keep at -10 dB so that it's kind of in the background. I think for an audio drama, it would probably be a little bit louder, but for this, I just want it to be kind of like punctuation to the sound, not the main thing. So he tossed a crust of bread into the water. A family of ducks started paddling rapidly toward it. I wonder if she dreams of you. What? Well, all right, so I'm going to fade that out a little bit here. So I'm going to come in here, take this, cut that off. And then this part I'm going to fade out. And so this is where I'm tweaking the sound effects. I don't always use the sound effect as it comes. I may chop it up. Water. I may a family of
Fade
ducks
it in,
started
fade it
paddling rapidly toward it. I wonder if she dreams of you. What? Well, if
Yeah,
she
that
is a
works
real
perfectly.
person, maybe she's dreaming when you are, and that's how you're able to connect. Huh. The idea actually made a sort of sense. Aaron chuckled to himself. Maybe you're her dream, and we're all just figments of her imagination. Wouldn't that be cool? I mean, how could we tell? It's like simulation theory, but instead of being inside some supercomputer, we're inside your girlfriend's head. She's not my girlfriend. Right. She's already spoken for. Will sighed, trying to remember why he was even friends with Aaron. Just because they worked together? Was there really no one else he could hang out with on the job? Aaron tossed the rest of the bread crusts he had saved from his sandwich at the ducks, who frantically dove beneath the surface to gobble them up. All right, so let's copy that over here. So he's doing that. I'm going to paste that in there. Tossed the rest of the bread crusts he had saved from his sandwich at the ducks, who frantically dove beneath the surface to gobble them up. Okay, so I'm going to come here. I'm going to take this ambiance and trim it down over here. Got that. And then I'm going to do a fade out here, right about where the fade out starts for that. Effect, fading, fade out. I'm going to move this over a little bit so that it lines up with that. Let's see how that sounds. Hang out with on the job? Aaron tossed the rest of the bread crusts he had saved from his sandwich at the ducks, who frantically dove beneath the surface to gobble them up. I'm sorry I'm late, the woman from Will's dream said. All right, so now here I'm going into the dream. Now I found some music called Feels Like a Dream. And so I thought that was the perfect thing here. So that's actually trimmed. So I'm going to drop in a new version of it here. So I've got a folder here for music, background music. Sorry about that. I'm kind of moving back and forth here. Music background. And I'm looking for the track called Feels Like a Dream. There it is. Feels Like a Dream. I'm going to grab let's see here. Grab the B here. Let's try that one. So I wish I could drop it directly into the track I need, but it doesn't seem to work that way. All right, so I got that. Now let's see how this works. So when I'm doing this here, I want to kind of overlap the dream coming in, so I can see here now that the dream actually This is kind of like low. I'm going to take that down, take that out, I mean, and I'm going to sort of fade this in while we're fading away from that ambiance up there. So let's see how that goes. Who frantically dove beneath the surface to gobble them up. I'm sorry I'm late, the woman from Will's dream said as she sat down in her chair. So we've established that this is the
Late for
dream
what?
background music.
She wasn't
earlier,
looking
so
at him, and her hair, which she normally wore in a ponytail, hung loosely over her face. Are you all right? He asked silently. She turned toward him. He could see that her right eye was darkened by a bruise and ineffectively covered with makeup. I don't know what to do. If I leave him, he'll just take it out on the girl. If I try to take her, he'll kill us both. Girl? What girl? Will struggled to remember what she had told him before. Fragments of memories danced within reach. Had she mentioned a girl before? Where is she? He asked, desperately trying to make himself heard. I really shouldn't bother you with my problems. Look, I brought my book, she said, pulling a paperback from her bag. No, he begged. Let me help you. But she couldn't read his mind. She was as deaf to him as if they were worlds apart. And maybe they were. Or was Aaron right? And Will was just a hallucination she was having. She started reading. Help me. Help me, help me, help me, help me, she said, as if she was reading the opening paragraph of the story, but substituting those two words for what was actually written there. Help me, help me, help me. Will woke up. Okay, so I'm going to cut the music off there, and I'm going to fade out sharply right here and see how that sounds. Okay, fading out. Actually written there. Help me, help me, help me. Will woke up. Yeah, that's perfect. So the woke up is the transition, and the music fades out right at the end of it. I like that. Will woke up. Interesting notion, the psychologist said. Will had just told him about Aaron's silly idea of being characters in the woman's dream. Of course, there's an easy way to tell. What's that? Well, you know how dreams work. They don't have clear-cut beginnings and endings. You just find yourself in a situation. Studying for a test for a class you haven't been to all semester, even though you haven't been in school for years. Finding yourself in public without any pants on. Driving down an impossible road without any brakes. There aren't any transitions like there are in real life. You just find yourself in one place and then the next. Will thought about what the psychologist was saying. Then he tried to remember how he had gotten to this office. The last thing he remembered was waking up from his most recent dream. Do you see what I mean? The psychologist asked. He tried to remember what his job was, where he lived, but it was all a fog. You are in a dream, but it's not her dream. All right, so I kind of feel like I need some music here, something like with rising tension. So I'm going to check here and see if I can find something. So I'm going to select the music tab in Envato and just do rising tension and see if something comes up. A lot of times when I do this, when I search for like a mood or something like that, I find something that kind of makes it. And sure enough, there's a track called Rising Tensions. Let's listen.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
This actually sounds interesting. I may
Audio
try this out
Jungle.
here, see if it works. Grab it. Save that. Now, when I use this on YouTube, I have to send the track, the license embedded on there somehow. But I usually like go to YouTube and check things out after a while and see what's going on with that. I don't like to waste a lot of time doing that in advance if I don't have to. And a lot of times YouTube just says, "Oh yeah, that's just need licensable," but it's not actionable. So it's like, especially if it's coming over on a podcast, I think if you're not putting it in an actual video, I think it's not gonna be that big of a deal. All right, so where to go here? Rising tensions, background music. Okay, now let's drag it over here, and let's see a good spot to put it in. So I'm gonna actually move it up a little bit here so I can see it closer to my dialogue. And then let's go what we got here. They don't have clear cut. Will thought about what the psychologist was saying. So here's the point I want to put the music in, right? It's right when the psychologist is basically, you just find yourself in one place and then the next. Will thought about what the psychologist. Let's take it down to about minus 15. There aren't any transitions like there are in real life. You just find yourself in one place and then the next. Will thought about what the psychologist was saying. Then he tried to remember how he had gotten to this office. The last thing he remembered was waking up from his most recent dream. Do you see what I mean? The psychologist asked. He tried to remember what his job was, where he lived, but it was all a fog. You are in a dream, but it's not her dream. It's yours. What are you talking about? I'm not dreaming, Will insisted. He stood up. The room was different now, no longer an office. So I just got to pause here and say sometimes it just the music just matches up with the narration so perfectly. You hear how it kind of transitioned when he stands up. It's like I couldn't have planned that better. And a lot of times I notice that I think what happens is when you're writing something, you use a natural rhythm to it, and that same sort of rhythm that's in your head when you're writing something, especially when you're reading it out loud, is the same kind of rhythm that the composers feel when they're writing the music. And so they've like have there's always this sort of like certain number of beats to build up to a point, and then you're there, and then you spend some time at that plateau and then come back down. So I'm really happy with this music. He stood up. The room was different now, no longer an office. It was white and sterile. He could hear beeping, a tempo that was gradually getting faster. The psychologist was gone. He looked up at the ceiling. There was a blinding light shining down on him. He squeezed his eyes shut and turned away. When he opened them again, he saw that he was lying in a bed with railings on it. And on the railing there was a sort of panel with buttons. One of them said call. He pressed it with a weak, trembling finger. A few moments later, he heard footsteps running toward. Oh man, I mean, it just sort of fades out right there, just to the perfect point. So I'm going to delete the rest of that track and use that. Now you can hear in the narration that it's saying that there's beeping going on, and that's like a hospital beeping, like a EKG. And I think I've got that somewhere in my sound effects here. Let me see if I can find it. Beeping. Cash register, phone, computer. That's not what I want. Let's do EKG. ECG. E K E C G. Nope. All right, let me see if I can find it directly here. Beeps and machine noises. Beeps, cameras, chainsaw, doors, electric buzzing, override, futuristic lamp switch, magnetic sticking. I know I used this before. Soft clean, task completed. Da. Hmm. Where else would it be under? Machines? Watch, vacuum cleaner. Let's say cardio. Take it back a level here. So I'm the way I've got this set up here is I can search for names of files in my no, I don't seem to have it here. All right, so let me come back to it. Auto, and let's go ahead and grab that. So sound effects, EKG, beeping, faster. Okay, beeps.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
That's too beepy.
Audio Jungle. Audio
Too beeps.
Audio Jungle.
Nope. Nope.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Okay, let's just look for EKG and see if we can find something there.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Some of these
Audio
are really
Jungle.
faint.
Audio Jungle.
I think this is the beep I want, but I need to probably put it in a different track because it's so faint. I don't want to like take it down anymore.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
All right, I think this is the one here. Let me grab that.
Audio Jungle.
So when you just listen to it on the website, you get this sort of audio watermark. That's what that audio jungle thing is.
Audio Jungle.
Let me come back over here. And let's put it in the right spot. It's going to be in the beeps and machine noises here.
Audio
Beeps,
Jungle.
ECG. And then we'll drag it over here. And I'm going to put it in its own track here, but I'm going to bring that track up here. And it's going to come up here when the music changes right there. So let's see what we got. He could hear beeping. It was white and sterile. He could hear beeping, a tempo that was gradually getting faster. The psychologist was gone. He looked up at the ceiling. There was a blinding light shining down on him. He squeezed his eyes shut and turned away. When he opened them again, he saw that he was lying in a bed with railings on it. And on the railing there was a sort of panel with buttons. One of them said, "Call." He pressed it with a weak, trembling finger. A few moments later, he heard footsteps running toward him. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fade out the beeping here when the music fades out, and because I just want to give the sense of the beeping being there. And even if I fade it out, you're still going to sort of like understand the context. Let's see what we got here. One of them said, "Call." He pressed it with a weak, trembling finger. A few moments later, he heard footsteps running toward him. Okay, so now I need footsteps. So I've got plenty of footsteps in my collection here. And I've got this great grouping of them that are like different tempos. So I'm going to do sneakers on concrete because that's the closest thing to like walking across a hospital tile floor. Let's do 120. That's too slow. I want running. Okay, so that's 150. This is 160 is good. Let's drop that in here. And I'm going to put it in this one here for the footsteps. And I'll bring it back here. A few moments later, he heard footsteps. Okay, so actually bring it
A few
here.
moments later, he heard footsteps running toward him. He looked toward the sound of their approach, and a young man.
All right, so it's going to come up to here, and I'm going to fade it in. So this whole thing is going to be faded in. So let's try that. Let me effect, fade in. So the footsteps are going to sound like they're coming from a distance. Let's see how that works.
Finger. A few moments later, he heard footsteps running toward him. He looked toward the sound of their approach, and a young man appeared in a doorway. It was Aaron, dressed in green scrubs, like a nurse would wear. "Mr. Kelly? Mr. Kelly?" he asked. Will groaned. The nurse reached for the phone on the table off.
All right, I'm going to give him a few more steps here. Okay, I just need 3 of those. I'll grab those and put them in there. There we go.
It was Aaron, dressed in... "Mr. Kelly? Mr. Kelly?" he asked. Will groaned. Will groaned. The nurse...
Okay, so I just need 3 of those steps. Let's see how that sounds.
Will groaned. The nurse reached for the phone on the table off to the side of his bed and punched a number.
Okay, so I want to get some phone sound effects in here. I wonder if there's one for picking up a phone. Let's see here. Pick up phone.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
I think I kind of like the first one here.
Audio Jungle.
I'm going to use that. Download that. Do I have one for phone? I do. So I have a section here for phone. And so some of the categories I pick here are just kind of arbitrary. They kind of grew up organically from the sound effects I was using. But we get this here. So it's going to be right after the footsteps there. So let me grab that and put it up here in this track. Oops. Uh-oh. Did I break something there? Jeez. There we go. I want to paste it here. Why did it paste it down here? Interesting. Let me grab it, move it back up here. Oh, okay. This is why. This ECG is it is a mono track. So I can't put stuff in it that's not mono.
The nurse reached for the phone on the table off to the side of his bed and punched a number. The table off to the side of his bed and punched a number.
Okay, so let's do a quick speed dial. Do I have that here? Telephone dial. Okay, that's too many numbers, but I could probably cut some out. we'll do the tone dial here. Grab that. Cut it from here. Get rid of these extra tracks here. Okay. I'm going to bump it up here. So we got this one here. I'm going to put that here. There we go.
His bed and punched a number.
So like an extension might have like 4 beeps to it. So
The number. Page Dr. Forbes, stat, he shouted. Will tried to speak, but he couldn't. There was something keeping him from talking. A tube, he realized, down his throat, gently filling and evacuating the air from his...
okay. So that's kind of like the sound effect I want to hear too, right? That sound of a respirator. I know I don't have that one, so I'm going to go search for that over here. Respirator. And you don't need to have these sound effects like throughout the entire scene. You can bring them up and down as they're mentioned, and make that sort of work for us. Let's see what we got here.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Too noisy.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
So that one sounds good.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Too fast.
Audio.
All right. We're getting away from here. Let me try this one.
Audio Jungle.
I don't like that.
Audio.
Not it. This is the
Audio
one.
Jungle.
So this is the sound I want, and I'll figure out how to use it here.
Audio Jungle.
Save that. Come back here to machine noises. Where was that?
Audio Jungle.
Did I have machine? I thought I had machine noises. Oh, there they are, machines. Okay. Respirator hiss.
Audio Jungle.
Up here. I can stop it over here. Okay, respirator hiss. So I'm going to drag that over here, and then I'm going to bring it into that spot, and then we're just going to cut it down quite a bit here. So I'm going to put that up here. Next to the beeps. Let's see, we need it right about here, I think.
Will tried to speak, but he couldn't. There was something...
Okay, so that's where we're going to do it. I'm going to fade it in over the course of 3 of these here. We'll do an effect. Fading, fade in.
And punched a number. Page Dr. Forbes, stat, he shouted. Will tried to speak, but he couldn't. There was something keeping him from talking. A tube, he realized, down his throat, gently filling and evacuating the air from his lungs.
Okay, so that's too loud. I'm going to drag it down here to this track. Oh, but it's a mono track here. So in that case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to knock the volume down here over the whole thing. I'm going to do -3. That's usually good enough to take it down a notch. Let's see how that sounds.
Tried to speak, but he couldn't. There was something keeping him from talking. A tube, he realized, down his throat, gently filling and evacuating the air from his lungs. A doctor strode into the room, followed by 2 other nurses. What's going on, Aaron? He asked the nurse.
All right, so the doctor strides in the room. I need footsteps for that. So let me come back and get those footsteps. Footsteps are really, really great sound effects because they uh, create movement, let you know that there's action going on, and I just find that really helpful. It's a good pace for the doctor. So that's a good pace for the doctor. So that's 100 beats per minute or footsteps per minute. I'm going to drag that over here. I'm going to put it up here. There we go. And then we'll line it up with the actual story here.
A tube, he realized, down his throat, gently filling and evacuating the air from his lungs. A doctor.
All right, so the doctor starts coming in about here. And again, I'm going to fade that in over a few footsteps. Effect, fading, fade in. So you can hear him enter the room.
Air from his lungs. A doctor strode into the room, followed by 2 other nurses.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is for the 2 other nurses, I'm just going to add another set of footsteps here, but I'm going to do a slightly different tempo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a slightly slower tempo for them. You don't want slower? I don't want slower. I'm going to take that. I take that back. I want to do slightly faster tempo for them. So I'm going to drag that up here. Hello. There. So let's see how that sounds.
A doctor strode into the room, followed by 2 other nurses.
What's going on? Fade them in. Effect. Fading. Fade in. Move it over a little bit here.
Lungs. A doctor strode into the room, followed by 2 other nurses.
Okay, they should all stop at the same time, right? So he's going to stop right about here. I'll get rid of those steps. And then they're going to stop a couple steps after that. So I'll put that here. So even though I have one set of footsteps, it's still
From his lungs.
If I try to do every single individual footstep or whatever, it just gets crazy. And you just want enough to sort of convey what's happening there, right? That's the cool thing about sound is you can create a feeling of a sound with just part of a sound rather than having to use the whole thing.
Air from his lungs. A doctor strode into the room, followed by 2 other nurses.
What's going on, Aaron?
He asked the nurse. He's awake. The doctor took a penlight from his breast pocket and shined it in each of Will's eyes.
Welcome back, Mr. Kelly.
Will pointed at the tube in his mouth. The doctor understood what he meant and nodded. They removed the tape that held it in place.
Oh, perfect. I get that cool little elongated thing there, and it's going to...
Understood what he meant and nodded. They removed the tape that held it in place, then gently slid it out. Will took in a deep breath of the warm, medicine-scented air of the hospital room.
All right, so here's the other thing, too. So I'm thinking underneath all of this here, I may want to put some just hospital room ambiance. Let me see if I've got something here for that. Ambiance. Hospital room. So let's see what this one sounds like. Okay, so that's got beeping in it, so I don't necessarily want that one. Okay, so that one, the beeping fades out. So I could come in here. And so this is just kind of like hospital ambiance, right? Busy hospital ambiance. And I'm wondering if this might be good to lay on top of that, but I'm gonna wait on that. Let's see. Let's see. No, I'm not gonna. I'm not
Scented
gonna do
air
it.
of the hospital room.
I
Then
may
coughed
use it for the
violently.
next one here. We'll see.
Aaron filled a cup with water from a pitcher and put his
Okay, filling cup with water. So let's get that sound effect in there. Coughing. Do I have coughing? I think I may have coughing. Let me see here. Ooh, excuse me. coming up on midnight. I don't know if I'm gonna get this done tonight. I want to get it published tomorrow, but we'll see. Cough. Nope, don't have a cough. Um, I mean, I could do a cough, but male cough. That's perfect. Let's try this one.
Audio Jungle.
No.
Audio Jungle.
There, I think I like that one better. All right, we'll do that. So this one I'm going to put under voices because it's a vocalization of something. So let me save that. Grab it here. Coughing male. And drag that over. It's going to need a little bit of it, but I'll just grab it here, cut it off, cut this out. And let's see, respirator. Air of the hospital room, then coughed violently. Okay. Then coughed violently. Aaron filled a cup with water. Okay, so I just did a couple coughs there. All right, water I think I have. Let's see here. Pouring water into a cup. Perfect. Okay, that's a good length. Let's drag that one over. So as you do this more and more, you get like this library of sound effects, and they're at your fingertips, which is really nice. All right, I'm gonna put that one on a different track here. I think. See how that works. Aaron filled a cup with water from a pitcher and put a straw in it. He guided the plastic tube to Will's mouth, and he sucked eagerly at it as the cool water soothed his parched tongue. Okay, now the straw noises I have are kind of more like a bottom of the cup straw. You listen. Yeah, that one maybe. Let me use that one. Let's see how that goes. I'm gonna try that out. Straw in it. He guided the plastic tube to Will's mouth, and he sucked Will's mouth, and he sucked eagerly at it as the cool water soothed his parched tongue. That works. That works. Okay, that's enough, the nurse said, pulling the straw away. Will tried to sit up. Relax, Mr. Kelly. You've been in a coma for over 3 months. You need to take it easy. Will glanced past the doctor at an empty chair near his bed. The woman, he managed to croak weakly. Where is the woman who sat there? The doctor looked at Aaron, confused. Sarah Billings. She works nights. She likes to talk to the coma patients. But she didn't come in last night. Didn't call in sick, just didn't show up. She needs help, Will told them. Call the police. Have them check on her. Relax, Mr. Kelly, the doctor said. I'm sure she's just under the weather. No, Will insisted vehemently. You have to call the police. You have to help her. She needs my help. His eyes pleaded with the doctor as strongly as his words did. She's not answering, one of the other nurses reported, holding up her cell phone. The faint sound of ringing came from the speaker. All right, so faint sound of ringing. Let's go ahead and grab that from the phone folder here. Something like this. Where is it? All right, so that's a good sound for that. Right before the 17 marker. Okay, so that's up here. Let's put that in here.
Cell phone. The faint sound of ringing came from the speaker. Dr. Forbes turned.
I just need one. That'll work.
Of ringing came from the speaker. Dr. Forbes turned toward the first nurse. Wouldn't hurt to call for a wellness check, I guess. Aaron nodded, then left the room to return to the nurse's station.
Okay, so he's going to leave the room. So I think I can grab some of these footsteps. I don't have enough there. I'm going to grab the 100 footsteps because I need some more of them. Do. Oops, sound effects. Footsteps. And then we want sneakers on concrete. 100. Drag it over here. Drag that back up here. My footstep track. So there's the footstep track there. And yeah, let's see here.
Aaron nodded, then left the
Aaron nodded.
wellness check, I guess. Aaron nodded, then left the room to return to the nurse's station. The doctor offered Will.
Okay, so I'm going to take it from there. Delete that. And then I'm going to fade out the last 4 steps here. So effect, fading, fade out. All right, so here we go.
Aaron nodded, then left the room to return to the nurse's station. The doctor offered Will another drink. I'm sure she's fine, Mr. Kelly. And I guess she's right that you coma patients do know.
Okay, so we offered another drink. Let's go ahead and do the straw slurp again. Where was that? There it is. So I'll just copy this here. Copy that, bring it up here. He leaves.
Offered Will another drink. Doctor offered Will another drink. I'm sure she's fine, Mr. Kelly. And I guess she's right that you coma patients do know some of what's going on around you.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating. I'm going to give you a little sedative so you can get some rest. He signaled to one of the other nurses, who pumped the contents of a syringe into his IV. Will tried to stay awake, to find out what had happened to the woman, but his eyelids became heavy and he fell asleep. Whatever he dreamed of, it wasn't the woman. Will woke the next morning to the sound of her voice.
Okay, so now here, this is why I want to have that ambiance in there, because I want to sort of fade it out and then bring it back up. And let me try it and see how it sounds. Ambiance, hospital, busy. Although, let me just check real here. Let's do sound effects, hospital, ambiance. Okay.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Let's do hospital.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
I think this may be the one, the hospital busy ambiance.
Audio.
There's one here called prison or hospital ambiance.
Audio Jungle.
All right, yeah, I think this is the one I'm going to give it a try here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this over here and put it into the ambiance track. And that one is up here, right above there. There's rising tensions. There's that music. Where did I put the ambiance track? Oh yeah, that's right here. And I'm going to bring it up here. Okay, but what I want to do is I want to cut out this initial beeping
Toward the sound of their approach, and a young man appeared in the doorway. It was Aaron, dressed in green scrubs.
Okay, so this part here I'm going to get rid of. That just leaves me this part here, which is kind of like a little bit of a loop. Let's see where I want to start. I want to start it right here as this stuff is coming in. So let's see how that sounds.
Said call. He pressed it with a weak, trembling finger. A few moments later, he heard footsteps running toward him. Finger. A few moments later, he heard footsteps running toward him. He looked toward the sound of their approach, and a young man appeared in the doorway. It was Aaron, dressed in green scrubs, like a nurse would wear. Mr. Kelly? Mr. Kelly? He asked. Will groaned. The nurse reached for the phone on the table off to the side of his bed and punched a number. Page Dr. Forbes, stat, he shouted. Will tried to speak, but he couldn't. There was something keeping him from talking. A tube, he realized, down his throat, gently filling and evacuating the air from his lungs. A doctor strode into the room, followed by two other nurses. What's going on, Aaron? He asked the nurse. He's awake. The doctor took a penlight from his breast pocket and shined it in each of Will's eyes.
Okay, so it's very subtle, but I think I'm going to keep it here. So what I'll do is I'll just paste this onto there.
Penlight from his breast pocket and shined it in each of Will's eyes. Welcome back, Mr. Kelly. Will pointed at the tube in his mouth. The doctor understood what he meant.
Now let's do this. Another one here. All right, so this is basically just laying it on top of that.
Became heavy, and he fell asleep. Whatever he dreamed of, it wasn't the woman. Will woke the next.
All right, so what I'll do here is I'm going to fade out this ambiance right about there. There we go. Cut that off. Paste in a new one. Fade this out. Effect fading, fade out. I'll come back here and I'm going to paste another one on the other side just in case I need it. And then I'm going to fade this one in. Okay, so this should give me a good effect of time passing. Right? So let's listen.
Whatever he dreamed of, it wasn't the woman. Will woke the next morning to the sound of her voice. Good morning, she said. He turned and saw the woman from his dreams, sitting in a wheelchair next to his bed. I understand I have you to thank for saving my life. If the police hadn't come when they did, I'd be dead. Thank you. Will nodded. How did you know? She asked. Will shrugged. The woman smiled. I always had a feeling you were listening. You know, I could have sworn while I was knocked out that I had a dream about you. But people don't dream when they're unconscious. Just a quirk of my memory, I suppose. Will smiled. You were reading me a book. The woman grinned. Yes, yes, I was. She pulled a paperback.
All right, so let me just throw this next to that real quick there.
She pulled a paperback from the side pocket of her wheelchair. Would you like me to continue? Start from the beginning, Will said. I think I missed the first part.
Okay, so we're going to end right there. We're going to fade out on that ambiance. Okay. Effect, fading, fade out. All right.
I think I missed the first part. Thank you for listening to.
All right. So now on top of this, then, what I do is I have a little bit of the closing theme that I put over this first introduction, and then this merges in with a stock ending for the whole thing. So I'll come back over here, grab that. Sound effects, not sound effects. I need to come to the theme section here. So I've got a theme folder, And there is a outro front wave, which I think I'm gonna put. Is that the one I put here? Yeah. So now this track, all right?
Dreams.
Yes. Okay, so we're gonna cut that from there, and we're gonna put it up here on this track here for the mystery I did. So this mystery track is what overlaps with that. It's the same music in there. So I'm gonna drop it in here. Okay, let's listen.
Will said, I think I missed the first part. Thank you for listening to Dreams of Her, written especially for the Bedtime Stories for Insomniacs fiction podcast by Rich Hosek.
And then it's gonna bump into something else. What I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna make a little bit of space here. And I can't do it right now. So there's something weird going on with Audacity right now, this version. There's it's a bug, and it was a bug that showed up a couple versions ago, and it's very strange, and I just have to kind of do things in two modes. But if I want to insert something in this track, I can't really do it unless I set this one setting. But if I set this setting, then when I paste stuff in other tracks, it kind of bumps other stuff along. So editing a clip can move other clips. I want to enable that. So what that means I can do here is that I can insert in here a little bit of sound, right? And then I can bring this back over this way and then add it a little bit closer. So let's see here.
I think I missed the first part. Thank you for listening to Dreams of Her, written especially for the Bedtime Stories for Insomniacs fiction podcast by Rich Hosek.
Okay. Close. I'm going to just take out just a little tiny sliver here. And that should do it. All right. I want to make sure that this does not go past the music there. So I'm going to cut that out. And that's that. So I think I've got everything in there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to it one more time and make sure all the sound is in place. So let me play the beginning for you so you can hear how it starts. And then hopefully it will be dropped tomorrow morning and you'll be able to hear the whole story. Let's just make sure I got this going here. So,
Dreams are a great mystery of the human mind. Many people believe that they give us a glimpse into our true selves. Some even believe they can foretell the future. Every once in a while, you find yourself in one that seems so real you can't tell it's a dream. Which begs the question, what if what you think of as real life is really the dream? Dreams of Her. I dreamed about her again, Will said as he sat in the overstuffed chair opposite his therapist.
okay, so that's how it starts
The
out.
woman who needs your help. Yeah. The psychologist scribbled something on his pad as he continued. And
S-
did you?
So you see how I just lay in that sound effect. The psychologist's office does not have any ambiance to it, so that's on purpose here. And then I get here, and we're in a lunchroom where we do that. And then the next part is back in the psychologist's office.
Will lay in bed fighting
Or in
fatigue.
bed. Okay.
He was repeating over and over to himself, ask her who she is, ask her who she is, hoping to program his subconscious mind to reveal the answer, or at least give him a clue what she represented. After a mouth-stretching yawn, he finally felt himself slip into sleep. The woman sat in a chair,
All right.
looking at Will.
And so the ambiance for the dream segments, what he thinks is the dream, which is actually reality, is the feels like a dream music. And so that'll fill that up. Then we come out of this.
Never not been able to move in the dream itself. He woke up. At first, he thought he was still paralyzed, but then he lifted his hand in front of his face and flexed his fingers. He sat up, drenched in sweat. There was something he wanted to do, something he needed to do. What was it? He looked around the dark room. Then his eyes rested on the pad and pen on his night table. Will grabbed them and started scribbling everything he could remember.
All right, so here is a problem, right? I need to have scribbling noises here, and I didn't put that in there. So I'm going to come back over here and grab the scribbling, which is right here. But I don't want to push anything out of the way. So what I'm going to have to do is just add a new track and slip it in there. So what I'll do here is I will add a new stereo track. And it's going to be down here at the bottom. So I'm going to bring that up here. Oops. No, that's not down there. Where'd it go? All right, let me see here. Yeah, this is it. Audio 3. Okay. So I'm going to drag this up here. Below the dialogue. There we go. All right, audio 3. So, where was it? He woke up, page flipping, and then we're going to do the scribbling right here. Oh, you see what happened there? It pushed the track over. So what I need to do is I need to turn that setting off again now. So I'm going to come back here, preferences. That could really mess things up, and there's definitely a bug. But I've got a workaround here. I just need to switch this preference on and off whenever I'm in different modes. So let's take that one off. Okay. Paste that. Oops, no, not there. I'll paste it in here. There we go.
Pad and pen on his night table. Will grabbed them and started scribbling everything he could remember.
Okay, so I'm going to take that down. -12.
Table. Will grabbed them and started scribbling everything he could remember.
All right, and I'm going to also add a fade out on this here. Perfect. So this is the exact same scribbling that the psychiatrist used earlier. But why not use it again?
Will grabbed them and started scribbling everything he could remember. The psychologist read the entries in Will's dream journal, nodding and pursing his lips as he flipped through the pages. What do you think? Will asked. It's difficult for me to say. As I've told you before, the answers are in your subconscious. Sometimes there are archetypes in dreams.
Okay.
The psychologist asked, flipping through the journal. Did she mention any violence? Will couldn't remember. I don't know. I just got the impression that she was living with someone she was afraid of. Could be a form of transference. You're projecting your own fears of commitment onto this avatar in your dreams. I don't have a girlfriend. Was there ever anyone? Tucked it back into his bag. He paused as he...
Oh, that's where we came in here. All right, and then I come over here, and I'm going to go to the pond, right? So,
as if answering Will's unspoken question. But perhaps that line of thinking will spark something else. Aaron and Will sat at a picnic table outside their office building. It was a warm, sunny day, and Will enjoyed watching the ducks and geese and occasional egret.
Okay, good. So we know that one works okay, and then we come here.
Who frantically dove beneath the surface to gobble them up. I'm sorry I'm late, the woman from Will's dream said as she sat down in her chair.
And we blend into the
Late,
dream.
late for...
Okay, that works out well. Any sound effects there? No, it's in the dream. It's just basically that. And so we come out.
Help me, help me, help me. Will woke up. Interesting notion, the psychologist said. Will had just told him about Aaron's silly idea of being characters in the woman's
Okay.
transitions like there are in real life. You just find yourself in one place and then the next. Will thought about what the psychologist was saying. Then he tried to remember how he had gotten to this office. The last thing he remembered was waking up from his most recent dream. Do you see what I mean? The psychologist asked. He tried to remember what his job was, where he lived, but it was all a fog. You are in a dream, but It's not her dream. It's yours. What are you talking about? I'm not dreaming, Will insisted. He stood up. The room was different now. No longer an office. It was
I just love
white
how that
and
music
sterile.
blends
He
perfectly
could
with the
hear
narration.
beeping, a tempo that was gradually getting faster. The psychologist
And so
was
even though
gone.
the beeping tempo
He
isn't
looked
getting
up at the
faster, the
ceiling.
music tempo is.
There was a blinding light
So it kind
shining
of
down on him.
gives you that impression.
He squeezed his eyes shut and turned away. When he opened them again, he saw that he was lying in a bed with railings on it. And on the railing there was a sort of panel with buttons. One of them said, "Call." He pressed it with a weak, trembling finger. A few moments later, he heard footsteps running toward him. He looked toward the sound of their approach, and a young man appeared in the doorway. It was Aaron, dressed in green scrubs, like a nurse would wear. "Mr. Kelly? Mr. Kelly?" he asked. Will groaned. The nurse reached for the phone on the table off to the side of his bed.
Okay, so we know all this stuff is okay. We come to the end, make sure that the music isn't misaligned here.
Will said, "I think I missed the first part." Thank you for listening to Dreams of Her, written especially for the Bedtime Stories for Insomniacs fiction podcast by Rich Hosek.
And that's it, right? So I've got everything in here. It comes out at about 19 minutes, and then with the opening theme, that'll come at just over 20, I think. So that's a pretty good length. I mean, most of them have been coming in a little bit longer than 25 when I get to between 3 and 4,000 words. Um, but I like the 20-minute length. That's pretty good. This story is about 2,700, 2,800 words long. And so that comes in there. But when I give a 3,000 worder, it comes in at about 25 minutes. And I I feel like you're getting a good story. 25 minutes is a good amount of time. It's good for a commute. It's good for a walk. Um, it's good for doing stuff around the house and so forth, or just winding down at the end of the day. So I'm hoping that'll be enough. So I've got this one fully produced here now. And what I do once I've got that all done here, I'll save it, of course. And then I come up here and I do file export audio, export to my computer. So this is, I had to reset the configuration and that normally doesn't come up. All right. So Dreams of Her wave. I don't want to do a wave. I want to do an MP3. So where do I fix that? Here we go. MP3 files. I'm going to browse over to the volume 3 of my stories right here. Okay. Save it there. So now it's going to go to that folder, MP3. These settings are the defaults here for sample rate. This I want to change to what is it? Something's wrong here. Bit mode, constant. That's what I want. 192. Okay, there we go. So I want constant at 192. Entire project. And then I think we're ready to go here. I just want to check something real quick here. Well, let's just export it and we'll see what happens. So this will take about, 15, 20 seconds. And then we'll use my Podomatic to publish it. But I need an image. So what I've been doing lately, and I know I'm going a little bit longer, but why not? So we're getting bonus time here. I'm going to stay up and do this anyway because I want to get this out before I go. So, oh God, I've been showing you my website the whole time without showing you the audio thing. Oh, geez. Oh, well. Okay. Wish somebody would have said something, but then, well, you know how it goes. All right. Anyway, so you saw the audio. You saw me shopping for sound effects here too, which hopefully that was helpful. All right. So I've also got photos here. So I'm trying to think of a scene from this that gives me a sense of this. Now, I don't want to do a guy lying in a hospital bed. I don't want to do just a generic woman. I'm thinking the ducks. I'm thinking a duck on a pond. Let me see if I've got a photo of that duck on a pond. And it's just a little scene from there, right? The duck on the pond. Let's see if we want a swimming duck. Not that one there, not that one there. Let's see here if we got. This is kind of what I'm looking for here, this kind of duck. But that muddy water does not look good. And the duck has got his beak tucked in too. So maybe this one. Let's see what else we got. There's the muddy water again. I don't want that. Doesn't have to be a male duck. It can be any kind of duck. Let's see if we can say duck swimming on pond. Okay. Oh, there's one. That might be nice. Kind of want the duck coming at you, but I can't. I can always flip it a little bit. Isn't the same duck. Okay, so now this one actually looks interesting. He's quacking. He's on the pond. I like this one. This one is good, and it's got this green here, and that'll fade with nicely with this. So I'm going to download this, add it to my collection, and I'll show you what I do next here. So got it there. Save that. You guys aren't seeing that. Let me share my full desktop here. I'm going to actually change the display settings here so that it doesn't look quite so bad. Do this and then change this to just HD. Okay, there we go. Keep settings. Where are you? Keep changes. Okay, good. And so then now let me go ahead and share that full window instead of just that. Entire screen, ducks, share. Okay, there we go. All right. So there's my mallard duck swimming, and I saved it. Where did I save it? I just saved it in downloads here, right? Yeah. So let's go ahead and open this up in my image editing software, which is this one here. Click on the edit button here. And what I do, the first thing I do here is I trim it to a square. So I've got this little option here where I can say I want this to be a square. And I can bring this up here and get the duck as much of it as I want. Let's see here. That should do the trick. That looks like a good duck. And I, I don't know if this is the best image. Maybe I'll come up with something better and I'll change it. But it's good enough for now. And I've got this here. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this. Save as copy. I'm going to put this into my folder here. Or where is it? Do I have, yeah, volume 3? And it is story 69. 69. Dreams of Her. So that's how I keep all the assets for a specific story together. Okay, once I've done that, then I'm going to come over here to another tool on my podcast, photo to watercolor. And let's go ahead and browse. Browse. And we'll go to volume 3, right there. Down to 69, Dreams of Her JPEG. And it brings it up here. And then my base color, I'm going to look for a green color here for this one. There we go. And I'm going to do the conversion here and see how it looks. I may make some adjustments to it. It may come out the way I like it first time. And yeah, that looks good. Got the duck. It's kind of green. I'm going to download this now. So bring that down here to my volume 3 again. and it's already got the right file name. Save that, and we've got the photo. Okay, good. Now here's the next step. I come to my Podomatic program, and this is something I wrote to help me manage my podcasts. Um, and this is how it works. Let me see if I can get it going here. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to grab an episode that I've previously done just as an example of what I'm going to pull from here. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy that over to a new window. Let me actually change this here. I'm going to bump that over to the side and bump this one over to the side. There we go. And this one I'm going to use the create method instead of edit. I got to change the link there for that. All right, so this is an existing story, and this is the one I'm going to be adding here. If I can get this going. Why is it spinning? It could be because I haven't used it for a while. You don't use it for a while, it kind of like needs to recompile some of the views. Although this is not sounding good. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're good. Okay, so I'm going to create a new episode for the Bedtime Stories, season 100. And it's going to be story 69. And the title is number 69, Dreams of Her. And then I check the written by Rich Hosick box because stories that are written by me are treated a little bit differently than other ones. All right, then the next thing I do is I'm going to go ahead and copy my introductory text from this story here. Dreams of Her. I'll grab this, paste it in here, give it a bump there. And then I choose my audio file. So this is going to be the MP3 file that I just compiled here. And I'll see, let's see, 69 Dreams of Her MP3. And then the image file is going to be that watercolorized graphic that I just did. That's this one here. Dreams of Her. Where'd it go? Watercolor, there it is. All right, keywords. So this one, I don't know if it's classified as horror or a ghost story or what. Um, what is this one? I guess it's a little bit of fantasy, so we'll put fantasy in there. And a little bit of spec. No, is it speculative? No, it's fantasy. It's a fantasy story. It's magic. It's people dreaming in a world like that. All right, website URL is going to be this 169 and published on tomorrow or today, actually. So that is going to be the 17th at 6 a.m. Okay, I create it. Takes me to the wrong page. I got to fix that. And I come back over here. And now I see my Dreams of Her. I can see, though, that my compiled audio is not set. What I need to do next is I'm going to do a test publish. And what this does is this is going to compile my audio together with the title to see if everything matches together. So I'm going to go ahead and publish that. It's going to take a few seconds. Comes back. Now I can see that I've got 21 and 30 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit. There's a theme. It adds the beginning of the episode. And I don't have enough room here to sort it. Okay, so I'm adding this Luke in Time post theme ad, which is kind of cool. So hear that. So that this is kind of cool. So it automatically adds the ad there that I've got set for the month. All right, I can't really get screen with it. Okay. Oh, there we go. The arrow key takes me like 10, 15 seconds. Okay, so if you write a story for me, you get that kind of alright, so now it comes back to the so what happened here is I took that MP3 that starts with this introduction, I added the theme song to the beginning, and then since I had a post-theme ad selected, it added that in there, and now it's going into the file that is part of this. Everything else can change. Alright, so now here's the end of it. I'm gonna see make sure the ending got appended correctly. Part I had. Yeah, I need to redo that tag. Okay, so yeah, I need to redo the tag, the ending, so that I can promote the free download of the audiobook once I get that all set up. And so that'll be that, and I felt heard some frying going on there with the voices too. But basically, now I've got my compiled show ready to publish, and all I gotta do is hit this button here. It's gonna send it up to the API for my podcast. Comes back, looks good. I'm always gonna check it out though. I'm gonna come over here to my podcast site, castos.com, log in. There we go. And I'll check the episodes, view episodes, and there it is, scheduled for 9/17/2024. I'm just going to check the time real quick. Sometimes the time doesn't come out the way. So it's scheduled, even though I said 6 a.m., it publishes at 7 a.m. And that's basically fluctuates between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. I can't really set the time. It's kind of strange. There's a problem with their API. Castos people, I've talked to you about this before. There's like little bugs in their API, but looks nice. So I got so everything gets uploaded here. The only thing it doesn't do is it doesn't change that custom link. So I have to put that in there automatically or manually myself. Let's put that in there, 69. And that's the episode link in the RSS feed. That'll take you to my website. All right, so there we go. So we've got here's Jody's stories here and his interview, and then here's this new story. And I'm just check the analytics real quick here just to see because I dropped those two things. So yeah, so yesterday I dropped two. I dropped the episode and I dropped the interview. So I got a big bump there. So I should see another bump tomorrow, probably in this range here in the 150 range for that story. Um, we'll see how that goes. See what was this one was 109. So yeah, this was a drop day too. That was a drop of the novel. This is two of them. So we'll see how it goes. So sometimes, I mean, I get an influx of people, and then people sort of go away, and that happens. I mean, I do the same thing. I find a podcast I like, I'll listen to it for a couple of months, and then it just kind of like does not become part of my routine anymore. And then I'll come back to it later. But here, this is the number that I'm looking at. This is over the last 90 days, 4,225. Previously, it was in the 3,000s. So you can see here, these little bars are getting fatter as I get more subscribers, more people interested, more people handing out my bookmarks at the book shows and stuff like that. So by the end of the year, I'd love to get to 5,000. That would be great. 5,000 in the last 90 days. That'll be over 2,000 a month, probably at that point. Let's see what the last 30 days is here. Okay, 1,500 over the last 30 days. Not too bad, not too bad. When that gets to 100,000, I'll be happy. But for right now, I'm moving up, getting there. Let's see what the Chartable is saying here. So this is the charting thing. This is the free version of this. Basically gives me an idea of what my trend is for the latest episodes of my podcast. And here's the overview. Okay, I love seeing the green arrows up, up, up. And let's see here on the charts. Let's see here. The fiction podcast 362. So that's, I think that's down actually. Let me see here. Last month. Yeah, so that dropped that week for some reason. Oh, this is just going back to September 8th. This is in the most recent few days. So this is like over a week old. And if I look back here, I can see, yeah, there was like this little dip in there. This is probably, is it that spot? Yeah. So this is like taking this spot here. So now the next couple of weeks, I'll get these bumps here in Chartable, and that should take me up on the charts. Maybe I'll get up to 200. We'll see. All right. So I've got the episode out. Everything looks good. Hopefully you guys are going to tune in. Bedtime Stories.studio. And I'll show you that real quick. So we won't see that story yet. There's Jody's story still. But you can see here there's where to subscribe. And so you can click here. A Google Podcast no longer exists. I have to take this off. But you can click on the Apple, Spotify, Audible, iHeartMedia, Amazon, Good Pods. There's a few others I should put up here. I'll go ahead and do that when I do my next thing because I need to update this for sign up for this newsletter and get a free audio book, not just a bookmark. You're going to be getting a free audio book when you sign up for it. If you sign up for it now, I will be sending you the audiobook later. So if you do sign up for my newsletter, there's a little form it takes you to, or you can go straight to my Substack and sign up there too. So you can go to richhosick.substack.com. You can sign up there. I got to put out a thing for Jody's story and now for the new story too. Okay. Yeah, I'm behind on my Substack post. That can wait till tomorrow. That is something I don't need to do right now. All right. Thanks for hanging around or sticking around or listening this long or fast forwarding to the end. Whatever you did, I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys tomorrow. I might be working on the novel tomorrow because I got to get moving on that. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Oops. Putting this in there. That gives me like kind of a weird looking thing going on. All right. I'm going to go ahead and end it. And I will see you tomorrow.